Hey, what's good, YouTube? This is Unique Divination, and you are listening and watching Urban Mystic Radio. So, how are you guys doing? I am fine. I've got enough rest from over the weekend with my aggravating 12-hour overnight shift. But anyway, I wanted to put out this video because I came across some wonderful information and I had to share it with you guys. Um, First of all, let me put this picture up. I feel so cool. I've learned how to do this. And this is the only thing that I learned how to do so far. But so, what we're looking at here, if you guys see, there are 12 circles with little pictures inside of them with a label underneath each picture. We've got the ruler, the creator, the innocent, the sage, the explorer, the revolutionary, magician, hero, lover, jester, every person, and caregiver. And so I want to show you this because I don't know if anybody is aware of, or I think we are aware, but not really extensively or really delved into it. Um, Archetypes. Archetypes. And so this video is going to be about why do we self sabotage? Why do we self sabotage? And, why does fear overtake us when we want to achieve things or we're trying to move forward in our life? And so we needed to take a look at that, and I'm going to get into why. So, has there ever been times where, I'm going to use a new relationship, okay? You broke up with somebody, say you even do what you were supposed to do as far as taking your time, getting back into a relationship. Say you broke up with your significant other, and, you know, 6 months to a year down the road, you decide to start dating again. You meet this really cool person, you guys hit it off like instantly, to the point where you start to get scared. Like, okay, is this too perfect? Is something going to happen where it fucks it up? Do I deserve to be happy? All these thoughts just start playing in your head, and then all of a sudden, for some reason, you start sabotaging the relationship. Maybe you want to cheat. Maybe you just feel like being an asshole and arguing about everything, but just you start going into self sabotage mode, and to the point where you eventually fuck up this very good relationship. I don't know if you've been there, but that was just an example. Another example would be a good job or a career opportunity that may be presented to you and maybe you didn't act on it. Or if you got it, you completely fucked it up because you didn't take in the seriousness of the situation, or you just were so scared, or you felt like you didn't deserve the position or whatever you were doing. So you fucked it up. Okay. So sometimes we don't think about, okay, we think fear, okay, I'm afraid to move forward, but we don't take a further, we don't go like further in, if that makes sense. We don't look deep into like the why, the psyche part of it. And lo and behold, I come across some information. Carl Jung. I'm gonna call him Carl Jung, but you guys know I'm a big Carl Jung fan with shadow work. Um, he's a Swiss psychologist, and if you're not aware of shadow work, I don't know if I've done any videos on shadow work. I may have inadvertently mentioned it in some way, form, or fashion, but I suggest you Google Carl Jung, CarlJung, and look up Carl Jung shadow work. Let me see. I've put out 102 videos, so I'm not really sure, y'all. And if I didn't make a video about it, then I will. But I believe that I may have. But anyway, I don't want to digress. Um, yeah, so the self sabotaging and just feeling like you don't deserve what it is that you've got coming to you, um, can come from something called an archetype. And so, what is an archetype? And I put up Bang. And I typed in what is an archetype, and it brings us to the psychoanalysis definition, and it is in the Jungian psychology, which is called Jung. It's a primitive mental image inherited from the earliest human ancestors and supposed to be present in the collective unconscious. So basically, we all know that there's a hive connection with everybody, a collective consciousness, and this consciousness feeds everybody's psyche, and it's just a collective. It's like the Akashic records. It's just a collective thinking, um, or mental images that have been set in us since the beginning of time, and we inherit them. Um, and so the reason why this even came about, or I started even looking into it, was because I'm in a very dope group for spiritual entrepreneurs, and the leader had talked about self sabotage, or feeling like you cannot move outside of the realm of what you were trying to accomplish, like you can't break through that barrier. And why? And it comes back to archetypes. We've got these archetypes. I've been doing more study and research, and apparently there's over 70 archetypes. Um, and just think about the situations in your life that come up, or how you react to things, and it's based on these set archetypes that's in our psyche. And I'm gonna go over the two that I want to bring up specifically in this video, which is the victim archetype and the saboteur archetype. And then I'm just going to briefly go over, go into some further information about archetypes. And all the information that I've got, the websites that I've used, I'm going to add in the description and drop in the comments if I have to. And so we got rid of that. We know what an archetype is. I've got like mad links open. Hold on. We don't want casting over chart. And so hold on, y'all. I gotta go through no, that's not what I want. I want the list. Sorry, I thought I had it like right here, but I have to keep going through things. Alright, so can I click? Alright, so what I say? Victim and saboteur. I've gotta go. It's like a long description, a detailed description of each. Alright. The saboteur. And so before I even go into these two, because I feel like I just jumped into it without really explaining. So apparently, we are operating at any given time under 12 archetypes. We have a chart of origin of 12 archetypes, like our natal chart. Okay, so this is information that I'm finding out, and I'm currently getting ready to work on and prep my coven members on doing also. But there are 12 archetypes that at any given time are running our houses also. So this archetype will coincides with our natal chart. So a lot of people were not familiar. I wasn't even really familiar. We all worry about, our natal chart, our natal chart. Your natal chart is very important to know, but apparently Now we need to understand the archetypes that run each house on our natal chart. There's a chart of origin and there's a working chart. Okay. And so the chart of origin is what you will do, and you can only do it one time, but it shows you in all your 12 houses what archetypes that coincide with you at each house. Now, there are four there are four archetypes that we need for survival. They're survival. So there are four that everybody that's a person, that's a human being is going to have. The other eight are going to differ. Okay. So that's just some information that I just needed us to know before I proceeded on. So self sabotage and just having fear of moving forward. Um, I feel like two of those archetypes that I briefly looked through are the saboteur and the victim. And I'm going to read over the victim archetype. I mean, the saboteur. The saboteur archetype is not one of the four fundamental for survival. I will briefly go over them after I finish the two. So bear with me. The saboteur archetype is made up of the fears and issues related to low self esteem that cause you to make choices in life that block your own empowerment and success. As with the victim and prostitute, you need to face this powerful archetype that we all possess and make it an ally. When you do, you will find that it calls your attention to situations in which you are in danger of being sabotaged or of sabotaging yourself. Once you are comfortable with the saboteur, you learn to hear and heed these warnings, save yourself in untold grief from making the same mistakes over and over. Ignore it, and the shadow saboteur will manifest in the form of self destructive behavior or the desire to undermine others. Okay? Um, and mentions movies Greta Garbo and Mata Hari. I've never heard of that. Angela Lansbury and the Manchurian Candidate. Woody Harrelson and the People versus Larry Flint. Okay, whatever. Um, as far as mythical people, we've got Loki in Norse myth, a shapeshifter and trickster who was crafty and malicious, but also heroic. Um, Eris Discordia, Greek Roman goddess of discord, said to have caused the Trojan War. The serpent in many cultures, a figure who deceives humans, often sabotaging their only chance at immorality. So if we want to think about the Christian perspective, the serpent that was in the Garden of Eden would be a saboteur type archetype, right? But just like we need to understand that archetypes are neutral. They can be light or they can be shadow. It all depends on the person and the situation that someone is going through, right? And the next one is victim. The negative traits of the victim are self-evident, but when properly recognized, it can be in tremendous aid in letting us know when we are in danger of letting ourselves be victimized, often through passivity, but also through rash or inappropriate actions. It can also help us to see our own tendency to victimize others for personal gain. In its shadow aspect, the victim shows us that we may like to play the victim at times because of the positive feedback we get in the form of sympathy or pity. Our goal is always to learn how to recognize these inappropriate attitudes in ourselves or others and to act accordingly. Okay. Um, Brings up Hilary Swank and Boys Don't Cry, uh, Misery by Stephen King. Uh, I don't know why I was bringing up movies. So yeah. So as you can see, just reading these two archetypes, the victim and the saboteur, we have seen how we've played those roles out in situations that have come into our life path. So the reason why I'm giving you the tools to understand what archetypes are, and then I just really went on the victim and the saboteur, is so that you guys understand that they're archetypes. It's like it's like being it's like being an actor and just filling the role for what it is, right? And so we draw upon these archetypes, and there's over 70. There's over 70 different archetypes that we use, but primarily we draw from 12, right? 4 everybody has ingrained in them, which I will briefly list. Um, 4, I believe it's the uh, child, victim. No, 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 not the victim. I'm sorry. Let me shut up and just find it. The 4 archetypes of survival. That's just it. Okay. The child, victim, prostitute, and saboteur. Okay. These are the 4 archetypes of survival. Now, the child has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The child has 6 sub archetypes that branch off from that initially. Okay. Um, I didn't want this video to be too long, so I'm not really going to go into them. But the 4 are the child. Oh no, the victim is in there. I'm sorry. The victim, the saboteur, and the prostitute. And I just gave us completely wrong information earlier when I said that they were not part of the survival. They are. I don't know why I didn't think that. That was weird. So I'm sorry about that. So saboteur, victim, child, and prostitute. These are 4 that we use for survival skills. And I know the name prostitute sounds weird, but like I said, these archetypes are neutral. Just like magic is neutral, just like guns are neutral, it's who is behind them or is utilizing them that makes them either light or shadow, good or evil, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to leave the link in the comment section, in the description section. This is really good information. Like I said, you can also do a chart of origin to lay out with your natal chart what archetypes are a part of your construct, right? Just like your natal, you can't change your natal. It is what it is. Once you've done an origin chart of your archetypes, it cannot be changed. You can do a working chart. You can do a working chart to kind of help you fix situations or questions that you may have. You can kind of use it like a tool, like a divination tool or something like that to kind of help you figure out things. But definitely, I think that anybody that is a spiritual practitioner or somebody that is really trying to um, put a fire under their spiritual development, and somebody who wants and understands that you are the creator of your own universe and you need to be held accountable and you are responsible for your actions of what you do in life. I think this is a very pertinent piece of your studies to really help you understand how you operate and where these emotions come from and what emotions you need to try to do and what archetypes and what to do in certain situations. And they're all based on these images or these mental images of how we should be. Like I know one of the archetypes is mother, trickster, child, magician. Like there's over 70 of them. So understand that that fear is not real. It's an archetype setting your psyche that you can change, and not necessarily change, but make it an ally to change the behavior and how you operate in certain situations. The victim archetype is not for you to have pity for yourself. It's to be aware of when somebody is trying to victimize you or you're trying to victimize somebody. It's like it throws up a red flag. It's like the little thing on your shoulder that sits there and tells you, when you need to do this or you need to do that. And there's 2 of them. There's the shadow side and the light side. So you could have, if we want to take an example of the victim archetype, if something happens to you, so you got robbed or raped, if you're a man or a woman, it doesn't matter. Say if you were raped or robbed. Now, you could take that situation, which is a horrendous fucking situation, and you can say, well, it's me, I've been raped, and just hold on to that anger and that pity for years, telling everybody a story everywhere you go. not as empowerment, but as like a pity, like people to feel bad for you and oh my God. Or you can use, and that's using the victim archetype, having self pity, always being down, or you can use the victim archetype in the light side and the positive side and use your story for empowerment. Yes, this happened to me, but it made me do this. I pushed forward, I pushed through and came out and did this. So it helps you to understand that you could turn it into a situation where we use it for self pity and to do nothing but to wallow in our sorrow and feel sad for ourselves and give us a reason to say, I can't do nothing in life because I was victimized this time. My life can't go on because I had this situation. Or switch it and say, okay, this happened to me. I was a victim, but I'm going to use the situation to push and tell my story to others or just motivate myself to keep moving forward because, hey, fucked up shit, it happened to me, but I still have to live a life and I can't be miserable and I can't keep being stuck in the past emotionally and mentally and keep dwelling on what the situation did. So that's one way. Um, the saboteur archetype, if we want to look at it in a negative manner, like I brought up the examples of the girlfriend or the boyfriend and just sabotaging the relationship, sabotaging a good career, a new position. If we want to look at the saboteur from a positive perspective as an ally, um, could play devil's advocate with yourself. If I fuck up this situation, what's going to happen? You can use the saboteur archetype to kind of bounce off and look at things from a different perspective. So I think, and that's what the serpent did in the Garden of Eden to Adam and Eve. It kind of gave them a different perspective. Like, hey, if you eat that tree, you guys are going to have knowledge and wisdom, and understand things a little bit different than what you do. So you can kind of like bounce off the saboteur archetype and kind of play off, and it'll help you with your critical thinking skills if you know how to utilize the saboteur archetype. So check out the information. I hope you guys find this information well. I hope you understand the importance of these archetypes and how to utilize them to manifest what you want, to break your own boundaries that you feel like you've set, even subconsciously, that you can't push through. Even myself, I feel like sometimes I'm working and I'm like, why can't I push through boundaries? And I do push through boundaries constantly, but I guess the ones that I'm looking for right now. I never thought that I would have a business. I now have an open and running, functioning coven with wonderful people in there. So I guess in a way, I'm working a little bit with my saboteur. I have extreme fear of public, social media, putting myself out there to the public. Um, so I see how I'm using my saboteur archetype to kind of help push through those things. Um, so thank you for all my subscribers. If you are not a subscriber, you are definitely tripping because this is the magical place to be. So go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, comment below, and tell me what you guys think about this information. And let me know if you're going to be working on the chart of origin. I put out a video in my coven, level 2, about an hour video, kind of going into detail a little bit more about the chart, um, the 4 archetypes, the ones, yeah, for survival. So if you are not a part of the coven, you need to be a part of the coven. Okay, we've got a full moon ritual call along with a meditation piece on the at the end of the call. I do full moon ritual, abundance ritual, and banishing. You don't have to do anything if you don't want to. If you do your own work in conjunction, of course, the energy is going to be greater. But just know that when you join the coven, you don't have to worry about, you give me names, I put them in the banishing jar. Abundance, I'm constantly, like I said, every month, and we monitor results. Um, what else goes on in the coven? We're just a magical family. We have an exclusive platform, a lot of information I've got in there. We've got a library, a lot of PDFs that you're just not going to see anywhere. Very exclusive resources for the coven. The coven is for people that want to understand magic a little bit more on a scientific level, because magic is science. It's not just, you know, nonsense, but just a lot of information to understand what you're doing. The coven is also a motivator. We motivate because we are successful in the coven. Everybody's successful. Um, everybody's working on reprogramming our subconscious mind to work for us. Everybody's a creator of our own universe, in the coven, and we just work on bettering our individually and each other, um, and just, tell about the things that's going on magically in our life, um, and just living, just being, and just being around people that are magical like us. So I've got two levels. I've got a level one, which is $12 a month. Um, and then I've got a level two, which is $22 a month. And the difference between the two is the level two has the call, and it has the exclusive platform. Level one has Facebook, my website, and you are a part of the ritual, the monthly ritual that I give to level one. So something to think about. Let me stop running my mouth. Like I said, like and subscribe, and I will be talking to you all later. Okay, you guys have a blessed one.